Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
It's a pleasure to be here. It's our very first event ever. So very, very exciting. And hopefully we'll look a year back from this on our YouTube recording and say, wow, can you believe it's all gone that fast? Tonight we'll be hearing from Raj Jonnalagedda. Yes. I've been practicing. It's deja vu all over again. But before we do, we wish to acknowledge the Ngunnawal people as the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on, and recognise any other people or families with connections to the lands of the ACT and region. We wish to acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and the contribution that they make to the life of this city and region. We would also like to acknowledge any other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who may be here tonight. First off, a big thank you to our contributors. First off, Very On Consulting, very recent company, started last year. Focus for them is on web design, web development, web hosting, consulting in general. Very thankfully and gratefully, particularly as our first event, they've taken the opportunity to fund tonight. So probably a very good opportunity to give the organisation a bit of a plug. So obviously we're a member, what you would call a member-less or member-free association. So effectively there's no cost for joining, it's all contributor-based. As you can see, we have some individual contributors tonight as well. So I'd like to thank Boris, Bernard, Lee, Alvin who couldn't be here tonight, Lee who couldn't be here tonight unfortunately, very unwell, Peter and Raj as well. I think, is Raj here tonight? Pen and scan? No? Well, he put some money in. So contributors, very important. I had the opportunity to go to, well actually not go to, I had the opportunity to conduct a guest lecture at the University of Canberra on Monday. And what that really honed in for me is that we very much are also an organisation that provides or removes the barrier of entry for students into project management as a career. So there is actually no fee for joining, for accessing our content. And that's something very important to us. So our contributors allow us to keep that mission happening. So it's very important to us, and I hope it's important to you as well. If you have joined, it's your first time, all I would say is encourage you next time, set a price for your ticket. Whatever you think you get out of these, always think about what that is probably worth, and feel free to contribute when you get the ticket for the next one. Expression of interests are still out. So as I said, the organisation has just started. We have these expressions of interest. A big thank you to Brandula, who's here tonight, who put the first submission in, so thank you. Check out our LinkedIn page, opportunity to get involved, but really encourage you to check out these roles. As I said, they're quite crucial for us as an organisation. We are very much volunteer-based, so feel free to check them out on LinkedIn. Apparently I left the animations in this. This is a bit funny. This is our mission statement. So we envision a no-cost, memberless grassroots collective complementing PMI and AIPM. Very much forward-looking, pragmatic. Project management is not just Gantt charts. It's a lot of different things. I had the opportunity tonight to have some conversations about automation and AI, right? So project managers and project management as a profession is not just about Gantt charts, and we'll hear more from Raj tonight, who I'm sure can do a much better job of explaining why project managers are more than Gantt charts. And finally, we host events like these. Soon we will offer mentoring and coaching, and really all of this goes into sharing knowledge to everyone, because knowledge is power, and it's really what powers the future of our industry, so very important. If you haven't followed us on LinkedIn, lazy pointer time. Oh, it doesn't actually show on the screen. But you can follow us on LinkedIn, and we have a mailing list there. Just feel free to join our MailChimp, and we send out meeting invitations and things as well. So this is actually from the lecture on Monday night. As you can see, it's always free for students. That's is, so what I'll do now is I'll give a bit of a blurb about Raj. So with over 22 years of experience in the IT software industry, Raj is a versatile and accomplished business analyst, solution architect, and a delivery lead. Based out of Canberra, Raj specialises in delivering complex Microsoft Azure, Dynamics 365, Power Platform, and M365 Copilot based solutions. Raj is a PMI certified professional in business analytics, PMI PBA for those of us who like acronyms, and also has an ACP, so Agile certified practitioner. He holds credentials as a PSM1 from Scrum.org, TOGAF 10 certified enterprise architecture practitioner. Raj leverages all of these certifications alongside substantial delivery experience to create value for his clients. For the past 2 years, Raj has been spearheading projects that provide AI tools and strategies for his clients and end users. Raj has presented at prominent global conferences, including the 2024 SoftEd IIBA Festival of Business Analysis, where his presentation on a day in the life of an AI-enabled business analyst was highly acclaimed. Raj champions the practical application of AI and business analytics, business analysis and analytics, through his Hey BA series on LinkedIn, providing valuable insights and actionable strategies for business analysis professionals. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Raj.
Nathan, he's also Microsoft MVP.
Microsoft MVP, thank you. Yes. Thank you. Funnily enough, Raj and I were having a coffee about this on not last weekend, the weekend before.
Heavy A. I start usually with heavy A, but I relate to VAs and delivery managers, delivery professionals, PMs, and whoever is involved with AI nowadays in their professional setting, or whether you're using AI at work or at home. I try to introduce people to responsible AI, and so that when people are deeply embedded in technology and technical aspects of AI, I remind them about small checklists that take them into the world of responsible AI. We can actually discuss more about what's responsible AI and all that, but before I get into the topic, I'll start with a small poll. How many of you are using AI at work? I asked this question last year. There were only few hands, but this time everyone is using AI. I asked one more question. How many of you are using AI at home personally? Right? Literally. Yeah. So could be travel plans, it could be recipes, it could be checking health aspects, anything. Sometimes you just ask advice, and you didn't ask anybody, but nowadays you're okay to ask AI. So, yeah. And so before I also start on the topic, I just received this report from LinkedIn this morning, and that just reassures that we are on a very hot topic today. That this one, LinkedIn just unveiled the top skills on the rise 2026, the fastest growing skills in Australia. I got this report today. And then the top skill is AI, machine learning, and data intelligence. And the other four on the list are technical development and engineering, communication and relationship building, training, coaching, and people development. And the last one is governance, ethics, and compliance. And I'll focus on governance, ethics, and compliance a little bit. I will not go into detail, but there's a link, there's a connection between responsible AI and that. But then I was reading earlier the first one, AI, machine learning, and data intelligence. The fast-growing skills in this area are prompt engineering, data analysis, insights, model training, and fine-tuning, data platforms and engineering, and AI for business. So I'm not going very deep into that report, but last year, what prompted me was I attended my first Festival of Business Analysis at a conference in Sydney as a speaker, and I was delivering my speech on AI, a day in the life of an AI-enabled business analyst. I took small concepts. What would happen in the life of a business analyst if you would flip the story and start using AI, and how is an AI accelerated or AI augmented business analyst, and then fill up the day with events and ask Copilot how to help with refinements, how to help with sprint planning, how to help with a meeting, just transcriptions and recording, and then how would you help me with learning new concepts and all that, and then it made such a big impact, and then I kept on pushing, and then I became a Microsoft MVP in Copilot, so that helps me help people onboard themselves onto AI safely, ethically, and responsibly, and then I started to realize how important is responsible AI. How many of us are familiar with responsible AI principles? Perfect. Cool. So I thought I'll bring up in this slide deck to just quickly browse through the top 6 Microsoft responsible AI principles, but I'll not go there unless we have some time at the end. But one of my friends was actually told that he's going to be a BA on an AI project, and suddenly he was so excited, AI. And then he's also nervous that evening. I don't know much. I'm actually only browsing, and then I'm doing some simple prompts. The toughest thing I could do is just input my calories and ask for protein shake recipes. And how am I going to get onto an AI project? How am I going to actually? I don't even have a license. I've never used anything on a ChatGPT in a professional setting. So that's not unusual. We didn't sign up to be AI experts. But the good news is, to lead a project or to even guide your team responsibly on AI projects, it's not rocket science. You don't have to be a data scientist. And then I'll try to take you through that, a simple journey. What are some foundational skills? What mindset you need to carry into an AI project? And though I keep saying, hey, BA, it's these are all relevant to BAs, project managers, delivery people, team leads, technical leads, project managers, whoever walk into a team who's trying to onboard themselves onto AI tools. It's relevant to all of them. Right. Okay. And as BAs, we have always worked hard to bring clarity, curiosity, and commitment to projects. And now it's no different on AI projects. We do the same, but we are applying the same skill sets, but we are actually applying for AI projects. Let's discuss that more deeply today. Okay, before we get into the topic, and I've introduced myself today about MVP and all that. Microsoft MVPs are most valuable professionals. They actually do a lot of community engagement, and my job is to introduce people into complex AI concepts using simple stories. And I also combine responsible AI whenever I suggest a prompt for refinement or sprint planning or learning something new. I also say how to do it responsibly. With that introduction, we also start with the simple responsible AI pledge. So, as an AI-enabled BA, every day I have the opportunity to integrate AI into my work. But it's not just about access to AI tools. I'm trained to use AI responsibly and effectively. I understand the policies and principles of safe and ethical responsible AI, which ensures that I work within the boundaries of enterprise data protection and security compliance. I'm always mindful of the tools and apps I use. I'm careful about the data that I'm handling, and I'm careful to safeguard the trust my stakeholders place in me. This is a pledge. I'm getting used to it because I said it so many times that it almost becomes a responsible BA's, AI BA's pledge. But it's not also about just automation. For me, it's about continuous learning and evolving. I've invested my time in learning complex techniques like prompt engineering and how to apply them to complex business use cases. Every day I solve problems for my stakeholders using AI, and with each challenge I get better. So as as I continue to apply these skills to solve business problems, I just get better and better being a responsible AI business analyst. And now I'm a project manager on a Copilot project, so it's no different. These can be applied by VAs, project managers, and everyone. But today we are actually flipping the script. So far we've been saying AI will help business analysts, but now today it's about how VAs help AI by guiding it responsibly and making sure AI delivers value in projects. So we are flipping the script. And then AI is not a magic wand. Without the right problem definition, it's expensive noise. So it's time to apply our BA discipline to AI projects. And how is the role of BA evolving in the world of AI? It's not just another tool in our toolkit. We can be strategic guides on AI projects. And if you remember, we have been traditionally the context engineers on projects. So what is context engineering? Currently, we have been providing that full picture of project scope, risks, consequences, issues, and that context that's required for that day. BAs, PMs, and other managers who are in the projects and technical teams, they have been doing it traditionally. So context engineering has been there for a while, and we've been doing that on projects. And AI projects don't fail because of tech. They fail because of poor problem framing. And so we work closely with stakeholders, we build trust, and we start with what's familiar, and we start working with what's already working, the patterns that are working, and we identify them, and we try onboarding people onto AI projects. So it's no different to what we've been doing already, but our skills are being stretched and reimagined for AI. So things like facilitating workshops, eliciting requirements, writing specifications, and analysis, data analysis, all these techniques, whatever we have been applying traditionally, they're now being stretched and imagined for AI. But there's a subtle difference that we are now doing this in a world of probabilistic outputs, non-deterministic outputs. So we don't know what the output will be, but we are trying to do something, achieve something using AI. We need to do it carefully, we need to do it responsibly. This is the output we expect. We tweak the prompts until we get that output, and while we are doing that, we do it responsibly. We respect human in the loops, we review our outputs, and then we make sure there is no bias, inaccuracy in AI outputs. We tune the AI outputs until we tune the prompts until the output is responsible enough, right? And let's see how these skills are actually evolving. So the key takeaway today, one of the key takeaways is a 7-step process. What I tried to do here is to apply an existing skill set for BAs into what we could do as a 7-step framework for AI projects. So we start with what's called define. Frame use case, frame AI use case and value proposition, award AI for AI's sake. Right. Focus on solving the right problem. That's the key value that we bring with a define. Facilitate. Run multidisciplinary AI discovery sessions. So who are these new stakeholders that need to be included in your facilitation? Like, for example, data specialists, ethics specialists, right? And security specialists, legal specialists, right? You need to include these people, start including these people in your facilitation workshops. Engage. To bridge business, tech, security, architecture, and governance teams. One important aspect to remember is that your stakeholders may lack AI literacy. AI is new, so they're actually sitting there. Some are sitting there with fear. Some are hesitating to accept AI. Some are actually not so familiar with AI, other than what they do, what they prompt on their phones. So you need to educate, align, and reassure your stakeholders who don't have that AI literacy. Elicit probabilistic, explainability, and fairness requirements. We know the word probabilistic. Are we familiar with the word explainability? Yes. Fairness? Yes. This requires comfort with uncertainty. As a BA or a project manager, it's natural for us to set deterministic outputs. So you know how your code should behave, so you know what the output should be. You know what your specification is, you know what your scope is, and you know what output should be. But things are going to change with AI. You can't actually be definite about all these parameters on your projects. So you need to learn to understand dealing with uncertainty. You need to have your boundaries set. You need to define this clearly. You need to have AI specialists in your team who can work on this, but understand that things can be uncertain with AI. So you need to know the right levers to press, while working on AI projects. Assess. Evaluate AI viability, risk, and enterprise fit. Don't just assess for tech readiness and ROI. Need to understand that you need to assess AI viability for your enterprise fit as a whole. Analyze, deep dive into data sources, quality, and bias. You need to partner with your data teams, security teams, legal teams, as I said. AI specialists need to be essentially having a lot of focus on data. So you need to check your data sources first. You need to have good focus. You need to have attention towards your data sources. Have good data people on your project. They need to be looking at your data quality. If there's bias in those data sets, data lineage, data provenance, all these aspects. So give a lot of importance to your data. And then validate. Prototype and test AI features with caution. Treat them like experiments. And apply a proof of concept mindset. Don't go in as though you're going to go live in 2 months. If your scope is 2 months, you need to apply, at least reserve certain time on your project to say, okay, you're going to try something. We need to actually keep checking if we are moving towards what we are expecting. Because uncertainty is the underlying nature of AI project. And finally, manage change and comms, lead AI adoption and trust building efforts. All AI projects are change heavy. So essentially, you need to be focusing on comms, training, and needs, basically. So though I haven't added it as one of the steps there, the change is actually inherent to every step there. You need to have a lot of focus on change, and you need to have really good change managers. So I've delivered these aspects to change managers as well, and then every aspect of responsible AI applies to everyone in the project. Some prerequisite skills for BAs. When I say BAs, it's PMs, delivery managers, everyone. Getting used to delivering this for BAs. Are we ready for AI projects? What are the essential skills? AI literacy. Be familiar with concepts. What is NLP? What is AGI? All the acronyms. So if you refer to one of my articles last year, I've written an article on 12 basic acronyms. So every article tries to introduce a complex aspect, and then it simplifies it for BAs. The tone is then addressed for BAs. There are prompts, there are responsible AI guidelines, but anyone reads it, there's enough to take out of that article. So please have a look at my article last year. That's 12 acronyms on Gen AI concepts. The next one is prompt engineering and tool familiarity. Try to learn crafting clear, efficient prompts. Apply prompting techniques and frameworks, and be familiar and hands-on with tools like ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, whatever tool is allowed in your professional setting. The third one is data literacy. Need to be really good at interpreting data. So you need not be a data scientist, but if you're given a data set or a chart or a graph or certain numbers, try interpreting, looking for patterns, and then understand a visualization, understand a flow, so that you can start asking questions about, okay, where did this come from? What's the journey of this data, the lineage? Where did this come from? The data provenance. And then you can start asking quality questions to your data people. So you can do that as a BA, you can do that as a PM, delivery people, change people can ask these questions. Data literacy is one of the foundational skills. AI risk awareness. So assuming that whatever it's telling you is correct is the greatest risk that you will carry. Assuming that there's no bias in what it's telling me is the greatest risk that you can assume. So inaccuracy, bias. So how do you actually detect this? How do you resolve this? How do you flag this for your teams? How do you actually narrate this to your teams without actually scaring them off? Okay, risk awareness and how to communicate risk, how to mitigate risk. So this is what we do as VAs, PMs, delivery managers. So it's important for everyone who's on project. AI risk awareness. Ethical and AI governance processes. So if you're not familiar with governance in your project teams or organizations, reach out to your AI governance offices or AI capability teams who are defining those governance rules for you. Usually these governance processes are around are you allowed to use sensitive data? What are the guidelines around use of sensitive data in your organization? Privacy and security risk, information security aspects, records keeping principles. When AI comes, when AI is introduced into your organization, okay, am I following the same records keeping or are there additional steps? Where do I check in and check out my sensitive documents? So this content manager, there's trim. So these are systems. Is it okay to leave this document in SharePoint? So governance processes. So understanding if I can start using this tool, am I allowed to use this tool? I'm able to reach this URL. Is it okay to start using this AI tool? Should I raise a use case? Is there a risk? So reach out to your cyber teams or the governance teams. So awareness that this is, I cannot actually start using this straight away. I need to reach out to somebody to check first. So awareness of governance processes and combining human and AI collaboration. So combining skills like critical thinking and human emotional intelligence along with AI capabilities. So it's very essential. We'll see in the next slide why human intelligence. Not there yet. Maybe three foundations of responsible AI for projects. We've already discussed this, but we'll just quickly reiterate. Data-centric mindset, we have discussed this. Outcome-driven requirements. What success looks like on AI projects, along with the awareness of ethical boundaries. Risk boundaries is important. So think of your outcomes very clearly. You can sit with your BAs and technical teams, cyber teams, invite your cyber teams, invite your legal teams, understand what are your boundaries for your AI outcomes. Ethical risk management, we've discussed this a little bit. Detection of bias, be fair, and then how AI models should be transparent, what are my core requirements, and what are my edge cases. All this, so being aware of this, and mainly because enterprise trust starts with governance. This is the slide where we talk about human intelligence. Empathy for users. Decision can affect people in different ways. So you need to actually demonstrate empathy. Advocate for people who may be misrepresented because of your AI outputs. So be aware of that and constantly keep checking whether AI can actually affect certain set of people. Right? Narrative framing. Lack of context and narrating context relevant to that time, the timeline in the project, right? Because the outputs are probabilistic and not everyone understands the context. So keep yourself updated with the context and bring in that right narrative for that time that's relevant in the project, right? It's a very new way of looking at it. We do it naturally in projects every day, but because AI outputs are probabilistic, a lot of people don't get it. It's easy to actually expect an output when you're typing a prompt, but suddenly you'll see AI hallucinating. What if you don't know that that's hallucination? How will you detect that risk, and then how will you communicate that? So it can be done on projects. When outputs actually behave that way, you can bring in the right context. So you have to guide people to actually apply the right context so that it doesn't hallucinate. Right? So narrative framing, trust. You need to guide people where to trust AI and where to override it. It's your job as a BA sometimes to guide people so that they can actually trust AI in the right times. And conflict management. Yes, AI may trigger tensions and it may lead to conflicts. So you need to have skills to actually do conflict management, right? And mitigate, align people, and then bring in that coherence on your projects. And then emotional intelligence and change. Adoption will trigger fear and resistance, definitely. So we can help actually in the transformation by actually bringing emotional intelligence into that change. Sometimes you may have to deal with those stakeholders, make them understand what's the risk and how can they mitigate that risk, because sometimes they don't even start because they fear bias and inaccuracy. Sometimes they fear risk. So it's very important, emotional intelligence and change. Always review our outputs. That's what it says. That's a link to the Gartner website. According to Gartner, AI is a powerful accelerator but not a substitute for human judgment. Always respect human in the loop. Review is not optional. You need to treat it as governance. So review of AI outputs is governance. So please take that very seriously. That's the message we are communicating to in our projects every day.
Sorry, can I ask you on review, how are there any methods that you are using currently in government for that?
For review of outputs?
Yeah,
okay.
Explainability and hallucinations and all that.
Yes. So if you are actually generating an output and submitting it for approval, you have an internal team reviewing it. So make sure you introduce human in the loop always. Don't assume that your AI output is right and don't directly submit it for approval. Right? Always include human in the loop. Now that is when you are doing reports or you are doing your Excel spreadsheets, you are doing your finance reports, you are doing your risk reports. It's valid in all these cases. Right? When you are actually prompting AI and you are seeing an output there, always make sure you have given it the right context. Right? And you are the human in the loops there. So you actually make sure you are reviewing those AI outputs so that they are accurate. You see, you spot any issue there or you spot any risk, make sure you are giving it the right context. In certain systems like Copilot, it's already embedded within your M365 systems. It has got access to your documents, emails, and chats. So there's enough context already being provided to AI when you prompt it. But even then, make sure it is there. In systems where it's not embedded and where you're uploading documents to provide context, make sure you are providing accurate context. So the documents you upload to AI so that it can actually read them and provide you output, that needs to be accurate. So make sure the attachments that you upload to AI are not sensitive. They are going along with your governance principles set by your organization. If they say don't upload sensitive information, don't upload. Scrub them, remove all sensitive information, and then upload it. You may not get the output that you are expecting, but you are at least following the governance process. So human in the loop at every level. So if it is just one-on-one interaction with AI, it's you. But if it is actually you're submitting a report, you involve your team to review your AI outputs. And always own your AI outputs. Certain organizations or teams say, label your documents that they're AI generated, but most organizations say they put the responsibility back on the drafter and the document originator. So it is your responsibility. If you have used AI to generate the document, it's your responsibility to review that before it goes out. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
And I think we have covered enough for governance. Just only one point to remember here is that don't let your team assume that they can green light AI features by themselves. that's the biggest risk you can start seeing on AI projects. If you hear, that's okay, I can actually get this to production, and stop them. Tell them, you need to go to AI governance boards, you need to talk to your cyber, you need to talk to your enterprise architecture, talk to your legal, generate your test outputs, verify them with all the stakeholders, make sure you are aligning to the governance guidelines on sensitive information and all that, and then you allow them to greenlight those AI features on your project. You will start noticing that many vendors are actually introducing AI features on the name of trials. So even if you detect a feature, just report that immediately, because what sits in as a trial today will actually settle there as a permanent feature. And then, so data sovereignty, privacy, terms and conditions of how they are actually accepting, collecting and storing and publishing your data from an AI feature perspective is important to review. So if you detect an AI feature, a new AI feature in an existing software, always report that as well. Right? So 3 actionable insights for VAs, again PMs, and anyone on a project. Ask better questions. Do we need AI to solve this problem? Is the first question you need to ask in your teams. Can't we solve it with existing software, with existing solutions, with existing people? Do we need AI to solve it? Right. Expand your toolkit and lead the conversation by training yourself, training your teams, and educating your stakeholders. I look forward to continuing this conversation. Thank you so much. Please follow me and subscribe to my newsletter on LinkedIn. And hope to see you soon again.
Thanks so much, Raj. Any questions for Raj? I have a question. It felt very loaded.
I have a question as well.
Okay. Mine's very open-ended. I think that just doing a general scan of the room, there are at least a minimum of 4 people in this room that probably have a very crucial role in their organizations for AI and automation. You know who you are. But the reason I ask this question is because we've talked in this session about AI governance, particularly when you said before, if in doubt, go to your AI governance board. I think that's a very mature thing to call out in the presentation, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, looking at the landscape both in the Commonwealth and a lot of private industry, we have many organisations, including in the Commonwealth, who have either taken a lockdown everything first and then gradually let it out.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one method. We also have the other one where it's like, okay, we'll open it up to everyone slowly and then we'll work out what controls we apply. Most of these organisations don't yet have what we would call an AI governance board or an AI governance function. So what the question is, where do we look to? Are there any resources that you'd recommend? If you think of like CHIMI, so CMMI method of maturity, we're talking about level 0, level 1 levels of maturity around AI governance. They might have a policy document, and people get referred to it, but that's it. There's no measurement. There's no stage gating. There's no stage control. So where do people start? Where do organisations look for AI governance board constructs?
Great question. I'm lucky that I have a lot of governance structures around me for AI, and I'm a part of a governance office as well. But best place to start if you're not knowing where to go is a lot of self-study. I know it can be tedious, and you need to spend a lot of time outside office hours understanding this. But to incrementally start adding that knowledge, you could refer to Microsoft Responsible AI Principles. That's what I did starting last year. Microsoft Responsible AI Principles. Top it up with OECD Economic Cooperation Development, the Organization for Economic Cooperation Development, OECD's Principles for Responsible AI, and then Safe AI Adoption, Safe Ethical Responsible AI Adoption, NIST, National Institute of Standards. They have produced a lot of documentation around Safe Ethical Responsible AI AI principles. So, but there's a lot to study. So what I've done is, as soon as I read something and then that feels important for delivery, I put it out in an article, simplify the story, and then deliver it out to people on my articles. So have a read, but then most organizations have their AI bodies sitting close to data teams. So they are the first ones usually either being aware or informed about AI. Reach out to the data teams. They might know, or they would have started something, and then they might help you. But in government, if you're working in an agency, reach out to DTA's documentation. DTA has got a lot of documentation on responsible AI in government. We refer a lot to DTA's documentation as well. DISR has produced AI ethics principles. So you'll see that in one of my articles as well. But if you can go to DISR, Department of Industry, Science and Resources, you can refer to their documentation, AI ethics principles. AI Safety Institute is also being set up newly. So there is a lot of documentation here locally as well, but it's a lot to read, understand what you're asking.
Fantastic, thank you. Zoe?
Yeah. So actually AI is a hot topic, but my question is that you describe it as AI project rather than how do we use AI in the existing projects management or in the organization thing. So what's the difference between them? I mean, do you think actually using AI actually taking some decision making roles, make it as the AI project, or it's kind of like an AI, by using AI actually it have you to deliver or developing a kind of project. So why you want to say it as the AI project?
That's a great question. How do you even know that you're sitting in an AI project? Yeah, that's a great question. Most projects announce in their kickoffs that it's the new AI implementation. So it should be clear from the scope of the project that it's a new AI implementation or introducing an AI feature if it's a phase of a project. So if you're not clear, ask the project manager. That's the first thing you need to do. If you are a team member within the project, ask your BA or the project manager, is this an AI project? They should be able to tell you. If they're not clear, they should go and sort it out, right? But what if you are on a project that's already developing a product or a feature where suddenly AI features pop up? Either the vendor who is giving you the product has introduced it, then it's I think the BAs are the guardians of scope, as the guardians of scope, detect and then introduce the feature, do all this homework, and then introduce that to their Scrum teams and talk to their product owners, product managers, and try to understand how do we handle this. If you're not clear, if you don't have enough time on the project, if the budget is not allocated to solve this problem, turn the feature off. Talk to your IT teams, turn it off, sort it out first, and then turn it off, right? There are ways to turn it off. You can actually blacklist that URL, block access to that website, block access to that product. But unless it's a feature so deeply embedded that, so tell you, if it's so deeply embedded, tell your customers not to use that feature, we're sorting it out, right? So there are different ways of detecting AI projects, understanding how the scope is. Once you detect, you need to actually be aware. You need to immediately educate your teams about the risks, governance. At least for your projects, look for governance structures. If it's not available in the wide organization, try to bring in some local governance so that you know really clearly what are the guardrails for your project. Did I answer your question?
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
It's very difficult it's a challenge to detect your project where it's going. If it's AI suddenly introduced, or if it is new AI implementation.
I think one and then two.
Thanks. So Raj, you've spoken very strongly around good governance, around the use of AI. The landscape's moving pretty quickly, and so you've got low to no code solutions and business-led AI delivery. Can you opine or reflect a bit on how you see proportionality working in that? So, if I go to one side, is it shut out business, only an IT shop should do this? On the flip side, do you see a place where you can control the governance in a way that business can experiment? What's your reflection on that?
Control. I'm inclined to say, start introducing proof of concepts allow avenues for business to experiment. The challenge currently are the cost and funding models. Suddenly the feature pops up and then it's available for everyone. So your business could assume that it's available to them and start using it. There are IT developers sitting within business as well, so they start using that. And then probably the cost that they are incurring is not scoped initially and not funded. So it's already blowing out the costs from some corners. So governance offices should think about this. They need to have a clear understanding of not just the feature or scope introduction, it's about the cost introduction, and then the impact on your projects, on your funds and finances, right? For example, you're given this much budget, but suddenly you started incurring more. So it should reflect on your dashboard somewhere that this particular process that was incurring this much cost till date has gone 2 times over, 3 times over. Where is the issue? Then you probe, and then it's actually a new AI process that's being introduced, running in our production, and it's incurring this much cost. Then bring it back immediately to governance office, but then open up proof of concept methodologies, treat it like experiments. Once you set up your governance around it, you deal with raise use cases, deal with sensitivities, set guardrails, set clear boundaries, and then set some funding, and then introduce a proof of concept. The proof of concept can be executed by your IT or in coordination with your business, but then you're approaching it in a controlled fashion. You understand all the metrics involved and the boundaries, then you go. And allow it stage by stage or cohort by cohort, so that you don't go big bang and then there's huge cost blowouts. Especially you could have, if you allow all businesses to do things at the same time, you could have a number of agents that are suddenly appearing in your organization, which is called an agent sprawl. The agents could be using similar functionality in a different fashion, and so leading duplication of functionality. It's process and effort, processing time, server process power, everything is duplicated, which is also leading to cost blowout. So all this is pull it back into governance and then define them and let them experiment.
Thank you.
All right. So I have this question because now we are moving from normal ChatGPT, OpenAI to agentic AI,
Yes.
which is OpenClaw, and things are pretty scary. So on this agentic AI environment, which is coming up next, what kind of responsibility or governance are there just to protect? Because I mean, it's kind of the same thing, but agentic AI would be much more on a automated and out of control way and scary way than currently what we do, which is less human in loop. So how that governance would look like?
Yeah. So just thinking out here, because we are also just starting on AI governance. But awareness, governance, education, right? Don't again come back to the previous response. Go in a slow experiment fashion, and don't introduce agents all at once, right? Introduce governance, some sort of education, training, awareness, and then have your use cases listed and based on risk, and then risk appetite of your organization, the funds available, and then the effort that takes to develop an agent. Again, ask the question, do we need AI to solve this problem? How much efficiencies are we gaining? This has been sitting there as an app all the while. Now you're converting that into an agent. So are there efficiencies really? What are those? So understanding all that, and then gradually introducing agents. But before you introduce anything, all this checks for cost blowouts, agent sprawl, scoping, funding, awareness, education, training. You're moving from Gen AI into agentic AI. Can you really solve this using Gen AI? Maybe all it requires is a set of prompts, and you schedule them and you get an output, and you may not need an agent there, right? So enough assessment of risk and sensitivity as well, and all that, the scoping, and then you can go for an agent once you have all this provision for you. And it's also a matter of who will do the agent. Is it a vendor or IT or your business? If they are already having developers, and if they are doing their own IT. Are you allowed to do on your sandbox? Are you allowed to do it on a production that's available to everybody? So there are multiple factors, but first and foremost is awareness, governance, and training, education. So educate everyone that it's coming. These are the risks. These are the advantages. This is where you need to use agent. This is where you don't need to. Education is a must first. Thank you. Peter.
So I have a comment and then I guess a request of the BA community. So my first comment is, and I'm looking at this from a societal view.
Yeah.
So I look at this and go, responsible AI, ethical AI, to me has become the low bar.
Yeah.
We have an expectation that that's the way it will be done, and it's sort of equivalent of do no harm.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's great, but it doesn't seem very aspirational, right? So we're starting to see developments in areas called the application of AI for well-being.
Yeah.
Right? And so trying to improve well-being for individuals, for society, for organisations. And so, and then beyond that, and even more futuristic, but not quite as well defined, is flourishing.
Yeah.
The use of AI to support the flourishing of communities and individuals.
Yeah.
And so it seems to me that we need to start thinking about using AI, and not just think about it in terms of how do we stop it from doing bad things, but how do we actually assess it and look at how we're applying it and say, is it actually helping? Is it improving well-being?
Yeah.
Is it helping us to flourish? And so I guess my request of the BA community is, recognising the bounds that they're within, can they look at this and start to say, when they're looking at systems that are being built, think about, do those systems actually help improve things?
Yes.
Is it improving well-being? Is it flourishing? Or are we just being more efficient, delivering more capability, which is typically what government wants to do?
Yeah.
But I think we need to be more aspirational and go, we want to use AI for the benefit of mankind.
Yeah.
We need to start looking at it and asking ourselves, are we actually doing that?
So the ESG element?
And an ESG element, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Great. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a great insight.
Was that the question though?
Well, it wasn't really a question, comment and then a request.
Okay.
So, because I'm asking Raj, go out and evangelise the BA community.
Sure.
Kind of think
Will
about
do.
it.
Definitely. Yeah.
For those of you interested, there's an excellent course on AI ethics, and it's free of charge, University of Helsinki. It's online. So if you go and do a search AI ethics at University of Helsinki, you can do it at your own pace. But it covers aspects that you mentioned and how you go beyond aspirational development.
Okay. Thank you.
Comment from me. I mean, I came here because I do have a specific project that I'm currently working on, and it was. You looked at me.
You've identified yourself.
You wrote me in. But I think everything that you said I have taken into account. Started with the governance as to where I'm going. So I'm starting with a lockdown version, right? And I'm starting with data quality, right? So I need to be sure that the data is for a specific business purpose, right? Things are not evergreen, everything's getting rotten. Where is the data? I want to find this, that, the other. So we're locking all that down. So everything that you say in your 7 steps is what really I really liked. So I think there is positives. There is, like I say, everybody's talking about AI and what it can do and can't do, but the efficiencies that you can gain by putting that in with automation.
Yeah.
We started. I think starting next week. We're starting with Copilot Studio as well to try to get the agents for internal use. Right?
Okay.
And so I think that's where I see a lot of benefits.
Yeah.
Just asking what my help is going to be, whatever. Yeah, isn't going to give me all this stuff, but for a business. Internal processes that you can improve, or the quality of data information that comes in, you can put tons of stuff.
Yes.
You've got board reviews, this review, that data, how the program is performing.
Yeah.
Right. All of that to be deciphered into something else. I think that's where we lead to. So that's very good. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Oh, sorry, Boris, go ahead.
One last question. You mentioned about budget and all of that. I'm a bit curious about if you have any insights into in average, how do you see internal capability for AI within government and organizations in general? And if there is like not enough capacity internally, or what's your perspective in that aspect?
So training is, we made training mandatory with license. So you can't get a license to an AI tool if you're not trained. So you need to go and complete a training before even you get a license. So we made it mandatory. I think that's a good step, and so everyone should get trained, and then that training will cover responsible AI aspects, governance guardrails, and then sensitive data use, privacy, security, all these aspects. You will be introduced to all these aspects in your training, and then you can get a license. That's a good way of introducing people into AI.
Can I interrupt you? I'm looking more into the side of for projects.
Yeah.
So if we want to build a project in AI, do you think organizations in general at the moment are well prepared internally to resource those projects?
So just to build my answer there, so that's the generic, you build that attitude towards AI first, right? How to approach AI. That's an essential training for everyone. And then I come to that project level training, right? Now, you have developers, you have change managers, you have project managers, BAs, and a lot of people who are actually just rolling out. There are some stakeholders also a part of your project team. After they do this generic AI training, they get an understanding of governance frameworks. Then you need this specialized training for your developers and project managers. A part of it is already covered in governance, but then it could be very project specific. For example, Copilot Studio training, right? That they're actually where to click the buttons and then the menus and the loops, and then how do you test outputs in such certain tools. So that's a focused training. And you need budgets allocated for this, the efforts and the time. All this has to be included into that project as well, because a regular project, you may have resources already trained on regular projects, but if it's an AI project, it brings up all this impact if it's your first AI project. So all standard project parameters will come in, everything will get affected. You need to do it on your first project, but then if you are then repeating, then you might see some savings. But definitely, when the AI product is out, as Vinod said, there is enough productivity benefit to offset what you've spent probably. So that you should be able to show clearly in your benefits report or assessment of project reports and all that. But certainly there are different layers of training that organizations are seeing when it comes to AI. Did I answer your question?
No.
It's not as straightforward as standard SDLC processes, the traditional software methods. Even SDLC processes are being redefined for AI now, because the way we are vibe coding and achieving the same output in lesser time is different to how we have been coding all the while. So standard software development processes are changing because of AI.
Yeah, and the way that I see it is right now, like many of those roles are very AI specific, like AI engineers and all of that. Those roles, they command a very high cost for the organization. They usually, you won't be able to find them as permanent employees. They will be
correct.
Contractors.
Yes.
So I think
that impact is there, I think, for a few more years until it becomes a generic skill for a number of years. Just like how we have seen that kind of skills grow in the software space, and then they became generic over time, and then people had to acquire niche skills to be specialists in certain areas. And it will happen eventually with AI. How long will it take? We don't know. Maybe AI will start coding by itself by the time, so we never know.
Right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue it's...
just as a more comment off the one, I think there's also a lot of cultural challenges in terms of the speed in which AI is progressing, but then the tiers of AI, and in terms of being up. So I think many organisations, have Copilot in use at a basic level, but maybe not. You talked about Copilot Studio earlier. That is a solution that allows you to fine-tune your language models and then ultimately get a better product out. So is the organisation ready to unleash that product? Are the skills, to what you were saying earlier, are the skills in the market ready to be able to provide that on tap or not? Is the organisation patient enough to let the experimentations run to then harvest those benefits in 18 months? Because, well, the experiment, or a small subset of the experiment, could take a week, a month. Going through the change management process of then educating users, getting them on board, going through release management, and if you're doing that with IT-led or an IT division-led versus a business area-led initiative, that comes with its own cultural challenges. So I suppose I agree with you that yes, resourcing is needed, but I think there's all these other sort of environmental factors that is important to be aware of, and then looking at how you mitigate that with your SRO or your executive leader, your C-suite leader that you're working to, so they're aware of that, and then you put mitigations in place actively. Noting that you're not going to solve it overnight, but bringing it to the board's attention. I'm not sure that's helpful, but
it's a difficult situation. Like, for example, I don't know if you saw today, Raj, Microsoft Community News released an article that Microsoft Foundry AI, which is, as the name suggests, is literally Microsoft's foundry of AI LLMs that they have, right? They're connecting that, or offering the opportunity now to connect that to OpenClaw. I don't know, some people don't know what that means, but basically OpenClaw is a tool that allows fully autonomous AI. Effectively, you just hook it up to an LLM and let it go. And it basically develops its own system, structures, processes, etc. It'll work within the boundaries of instruction, of course, but once you set that, it just keeps going. So for me, it's a schism as well between, you have all of these both public and private companies that, again, you think about the maturity model, some of these companies are sitting on level 0, level 1, and meanwhile we have sort of leading and bleeding edge, leaders of AI, companies leading AI, who are really hooking up to the latest and greatest. And it's only a matter of time, for example, before OpenClaw is offered as a part of a Microsoft Foundry AI solution. So it's like, it's a race, between these level 0 and level 1 companies, which are trying to get their people across the line and say, you need basic education on AI, versus leading edge and bleeding edge, which are going, well, how quickly do we offer this to everyone? And level 0 and level 1 companies suddenly have this situation where they have fully autonomous AI as shadow IT. Like, it's a very real possibility. So yeah. Perfect. Any more questions? Okay. Look, Raj, thank you very much.
Thank you.